Hello everyone, it's Major Park. Thank you guys for coming back to my video. Today I'd like to talk about a United States Space Force. I'm very excited about this organization. Obviously it's very futuristic in how we're going to be in entire space, how we're going to take it as a military organization, how we're going to take this superiority within the space operation. We're used to think about just a regular, the warfare that we used to back in the days, right? But when you think about the Space Force, now you kind of start to visualize about the future. I like to move it into a organization structure first. So start from the Secretary of Defense, right? As you can see, there's 4 departments. On the left, all the way to the far left, Department of the Army, both Department of Navy, Department of Air Force, and Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, underneath Air Force, you'll see on the small box right corner, you'll see that there's a Chief Space Operations. And as you can see on the bottom right here, U.S. Space Force. Who is current Chief of Space Operations? General John J. Raymond. And these are the leaderships. General John J. Raymond is the Chief of Space Operation, United States Space Force. As Chief, he serves as a senior uniformed Space Force officer responsible for organization, training, and equipping of all organic and assigned Space Forces serving in the United States and overseas. Like some of the news right here, as you can see, the Pentagon is closely watching the progress of rocket builders like Rocket Lab, Astra, and Virgin Orbit, in addition to SpaceX. As you can see right here, just a little about this article, he was talking about the nation's top general leading the U.S. military missions in space said Wednesday that he is excited about the Wall Street and billionaire investment in space industry, which has sparked renewed interest in the field among Americans and strong recruitment at the Pentagon's youngest branch. The U.S. Space Force traces roots to the beginning of Cold War, right? Obviously, that's a time when we're getting into the Cold War with Russia, right? So, and that time, obviously, one of our thing was to be very competitive in space program, right? Of course, this space program, the idea has been around for a while, but when it gets really proactive was during that 1945, the pre-era, the beginning of that, the Cold War is when the space programs were active, and 1945 is when we started, right? And then under General Bernard Shriver was established as the first dedicated space organization within the U.S. Armed Forces, and continues to exist as the Space Forces Space and Missile Systems Center. Military Space Forces was organized under several different Air Force major commands until they were unified when Air Force Space Command was established on 1st September 1982. By the way, you address the Space Force members as guardians. You know how you address the Army as soldier, Air Force member as airman? Just like that, the Space Force members, you address them as guardians. So the guardians, when they wear the uniform, you'll see on their left chest, you'll see that instead of U.S. Army or U.S. Air Force, you'll see that as a U.S. Space Force. When you think about this, the Space Force, Space Force is not just about the operation. Is not just about the rocket ship, or you landed on Mars, you landed on the moon, and you're trying to expand the footprint within the space. It's not just about that. It touches our life on a daily basis. The reason I said that is you can see on the left hand side, it's a satellite, right? I mean, we don't see, of course, right? Sometimes we get confused. Is it a stars? It looks bright, but obviously a lot of them is satellite, right? So that's how much satellites are running around in orbits around the Earth. We use a cell phone, right? We use GPS systems. Whether it's for military operation or your civilian personal life, obviously we are heavily interacting. That's something that we touch our life on basis, right? And of course, with today's technology, everything is, GPS is pretty much everywhere, right? The global position system is everywhere, in your car, your cell phone, in your house. I mean, your computer, laptop. I mean, you name it, everywhere. Obviously, our adversaries, right? The enemies tends to, they might jam the signal, right? They might try to jam one of the satellite signal, and then suddenly you lost connectivity. I mean, there's all kinds of scenario that you can come up with. So so the cybersecurity portion is also important as well. So let's talk about long range precision missile, right? If you fire from one point A to point B, you fire rounds, right? That's like thousands of miles, right? Obviously requires precision, meaning it has to be accurate, right? It has to be very accurate, that You're just landing on the perfect target. Think about all those coordination, right? It takes a lot of coordination within the space to travel those thousands of miles and then land it on the target. Think about how much coordination requires. You can see that the arrow looking right here is the logo, the brand's insignia for Space Force, which I thought was really cool. Here in the U.S. Space Force, we are challenged every day to find new heights, working within the new space domain. Our people launch rockets, keep satellites safe and operational, and develop technologies to defend our way of life on Earth. Through our interest in space, we protect hopes and dreams of America and exploration. While preparing for the 22nd century, when humankind asks what if, the mission of Space Force is to be answered. What are some of the careers that you guys can see, right? Space Force careers for officers. There's an acquisition manager. It requires a lot of resources. It requires a lot of a contract. You need to know how to acquire all the resources you need. Just do one mission, it takes a lot of time, right? So acquisition manager, as an officer, you need to learn how to do that. Intelligence officer, developmental engineer. It obviously requires the STEM degree. I'm not saying every single job requires a STEM, but obviously within Space Force itself, right, the field of expertise is going to come from STEM. The Space Operations Officer, Nuclear Missile Operations Officer, Munitions and Missile Maintenance Officers, Space Force for enlisted, missile and space facilities. That's how the job is related in Air Force recruiting official website. Space system operations, cyber systems operations, knowledge and operations management, the fusion analysis, missile space electronic maintenance, and another maintenance, right? So all those things, similar as an officer enlisted, and this is not all the jobs. If you guys are more curious about all the things that's happening within the space and what kind of the careers are available within the Space Force, reach out to the recruiters. And you'll see that there's request information. They're going to contact you. If you're current service members, absolutely, you can apply too. Whether you're in the Army or Air Force, Navy, whatever that component, military components you are in, if you're interested in Space Force, absolutely, if you meet the requirement, you can apply for the branch as well. These are the locations, some of the locations you guys can find. Space Force, the locations, obviously in Colorado. There's Buckley, Colorado. That's where located. There's one in California, Florida, Colorado again in Peterson, Colorado, Shriver, and California, Vandenberg. To the men and women of the United States Air Force, United Space Force, today, President signed a National Defense Authorization Act, and with the bipartisan support of Congress, established a sixth branch of the armed forces. Sixth branch, right? Isn't it pretty cool? I thought it was really cool. The United States Space Force, U.S. Space Force, and Independent Service singularly focus on protecting our interests and security in space, launches the nation into new era. Yeah, I think so. I agree. It's a new era. I mean, we tend to kind of got used to the old conventional warfare, right? In the past. I'm not saying that's wrong too. That's important as well. Of course, you have to understand the history to move forward. So I think that knowing the conventional warfare is important as well. But when you think about the Space Force itself, you think about very futuristic and how the way ahead, how the future is going to look like, right? So you can visualize that. So the new era, we're opening up a new door for a military operation. Combined with the stand-up of the U.S. Space Command in August 19, the nation is now well postured to preserve and protect the space, forging a new service and a historic opportunity to deliver world-class capabilities to the American people. As of today, the law and redesignated Air Force Space Command as a U.S. Space Force. Space professionals will soon have the opportunity to permanently transferred into the new service, while U.S. Force Airmen will continue to support the space mission. More information is available at spaceforce.mil. That's where I'm at right now. So together with our joint teammates and our spacefaring allies and partners, we will establish a service that meets the highest standards of excellence, built-in foundation of integrity and service. Part of service with you. Let's talk about a Space Force mission. The United States Space Force is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect U.S. and ally interests in space and to provide space capabilities to joint forces. USSF responsibility include developing Guardians, Remember Guardians, right? Here's his Guardians. Acquiring military space systems, maturing the military doctrine for space power, and organizing space forces to present our combatant commands. So supporting commanding commands is still there. I mean, that's something that doesn't go. Basically, the space superiority is the key thing here, and we maintain the space domain. Let's talk about the Space Force organization, right? The U.S. headquarters and office of Chief Space Operations are located in the Pentagon, just like the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. This staff will focus on establishing a fully functioning headquarters, preparing to execute the full scope of its organized, trained, and equipped responsibilities, and in conjunction with the U.S. Air Force, developing a detailed plan to transfer forces into U.S. Space Force. As a new military service, the U.S. Space Force will leverage a Department of the Air Force for more than 75% of its enabling functions to significantly reduce cost and avoid duplication. The Department of the Air Force will provide support functions that include logistics, base operating support, civilian personnel management, business systems, IT support. And also having this the true separation Space Force, the organization, the branch, now that you're alleviating that pressure, you're taking out the pressure out from Air Force, and then also put it onto a Space Force. Space Force can now just solely focus on the space operation itself. As you can see, right? Just a little bit of space. Look at the right here. I thought this was a pretty cool video because you look at the space, right? We always look at the space, right? And then you see how the operation center in there. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, that's a little bit about how it looks like. I thought it's pretty cool how the future is gonna look like, right? Right. Show you right there. Space Force. Boom. You can see that, right? So, United Space Force. Yeah. The final thing I like to talk about is one. If you guys have a kind of general idea where we were going, I mentioned about how warfare is changing. Think about how the way ahead, the future is gonna look like. Of course, the present time today is very important as well. But think about how the warfare is changing and how we can implement the new, the modernized way, a new solution, the new innovative solution to help improve your organization. Think about the future. Right? Think about how the space operation is going to be contributing to the military force. Two, if you want to join the Space Force, whether you are currently in the service or you're trying to find a recruiter or you're trying to find more information, go to the web portal, the spaceforce.mil. Recruiters will contact you. Don't worry too much about it. Just feel free to go online and then put your information on there, and someone will reach out to you. And thank you guys for watching my video. It was Major Park. I appreciate coming back to my video as well. And for those of you guys who are leaving great comments, I truly appreciate your time and effort to help each other out. So thank you guys, and see you guys later. Thank you. It was Major Park. Bye.